Roberts, and I'm a professor of economics at Arizona State University. Today I want to continue a discussion that we had in the last video about externalities. We talked about negative and positive externalities and how we could solve those problems. And one way, a common way that we often use, is to subsidize goods that have a positive externality to encourage the consumption of those goods, and to tax goods that have a negative externality to decrease the production and consumption of those goods. Today, I want to talk about a different way of dealing with the problem of externalities. And in this case, we're going to talk about a negative externality and how we can deal with it. And it's called setting standards, where the government sets a limit on the amount of pollution that is allowed. Now, we do this here in Arizona because one of the things we do is we say every 2 years you have to take your car in and have it emissions tested. And the government has said your car is allowed to emit 10 parts per billion of this particular crud. I don't know what the numbers are, but they have set a standard beyond which you're not allowed to get a license plate and drive your car if your car emits more than that. So you go in, you have it tested. If it's over the limit, you have to go get it fixed, bring it back, get it passed again, and once it passes, then you can buy a license plate and put a plate on your car and drive it legally. The problem is that one size often doesn't fit all. And so I want to illustrate that today with these two graphs. These could be two different areas of the country. This could be Los Angeles, and this could be Montana. This is an area where there's a high population. And this is an area with very low population. And so this is a graph showing the tons of emission in a high population area and the tons of emission in a low population area. And the thing of it is, I mean, we can think about cars, for example. In Los Angeles, the smog is terrible because there are so many cars. And the cost of another ton of emission in Los Angeles would be $20 per ton. Whereas if you go to Montana, where there are almost no cars on the road, and another car comes along and throws a little bit of pollution, the environment is so unpolluted that it can actually absorb a lot of this crud that's being thrown. And so what we have is an area, so we got cars in both areas, let's say, and we have tons of emissions in both areas. And in fact, in this area where the cost of another ton of emission is very low, compare that to an area where the cost of another ton of emissions is very high. And in this high cost area, Q star would be the optimal amount. Now, I've drawn the marginal benefits of another ton of emission, and you may be saying, well, since when do tons of emission, produce benefits? Well, the cars that we drive that throw out the emissions produce benefits. So there are benefits from these automobiles that pollute. So we have costs and we have benefits. And here's the optimal amount of pollution in this high cost area. Down here, in the low-cost area, here's the benefits and costs of tons of emissions. Q star down here. Now, if the government sets a standard and says everybody in America has to meet this set standard, and so let's just set the standard, let's just set it right here. Same standard down here. And I'll call it R because that'll be the regulation. Here's the regulation. Here's the regulation. So you cannot go beyond this. You're going to have to cut back somehow. You're going to have to put better catalytic converters on the cars. You're going to have to drive less. Whatever you're going to have to do. And so what this one-size-fits-all has done is it has forced this low emission, this low cost area to cut back to this level right here, and in fact, here's benefits greater than costs that are going to be lost because we're not allowed to pollute to the efficient level of pollution. You know, we said last time 0 is not the optimal amount. We're going to have to cut back, and we're cutting back to where benefits are still greater than costs. Up here, you're allowing this community, this high-cost community, to pollute this much to where costs are greater than benefits. So here's all the dead weight loss. You're allowing this high-cost group to pollute beyond the efficient amount. You're forcing this low-cost group to cut back to less than the efficient amount. And it just shows you that one size doesn't fit all. These regulations that say you're only allowed X amount don't fit everyone. And in fact, in the state of Arizona, we've actually recognized that one size doesn't fit all. Maricopa County, if your car's registered in Maricopa County, you have to have it emissions tested. If you live in Pinal County, you don't have to have it emissions tested because Pinal County isn't nearly as populated as Maricopa County. I expect that to change because population is moving south towards Pinal County. In Tucson, you have to have your car's emissions tested. That's down in Pima County. So the state of Arizona has recognized that one size doesn't necessarily fit all. And here's why it doesn't, because it creates these inefficiencies. The efficiency is Q star and Q star, and we're forcing an inefficiency on these markets. I have one more discussion of externalities, and that is a newer sort of method to control for externalities, and that is to create a market for the right to pollute. So we'll do that in our next video.